Shaving seconds to save lives. If you called 911 right now, how would the dispatcher answer? It should be something like, 911, what's the location of your emergency? This is the script that dispatchers follow because it's clear, concise, and it quickly asks for the most important information, location. Unfortunately, this is often where the effective scripts end and dispatchers begin winging it. This is devastating because in an active shooter event, what happens immediately after the initial report is often the difference between life and death. I'm Dan Jewiss, and in 2012, as a detective with the Connecticut State Police, I became the lead investigator for the tragedy at Sandy Hook. During our investigation, we learned that police arrived on scene in just about 3.5 minutes. That's 210 seconds. You probably just had the same reaction that we did. That's pretty good. And it was pretty good. Time is our greatest obstacle. That's why we train to pass by a bleeding victim to move to the sound of the gunfire. In fact, I'd suggest that the seconds we could save in dispatch are even more valuable than the seconds we try to save by passing a victim in the hallway, because by the time police are on scene, the data tells us they've most likely already had an impact. The shooter committed suicide, barricaded, fled, or started shooting at us. When dispatch takes that first call, no one is on scene yet, and no one knows where the shooter is. Those seconds all go into the same sad but true formula. Time equals body count. Active shooters are aware of that formula. At Virginia Tech, the shooter chained doors closed. In the Amish school shooting, he barricaded himself inside with the victims. In Vegas, he set up counter surveillance. And at the Pulse nightclub, he claimed there were vehicle IEDs and that he had a suicide vest. All untrue, but done to slow us down. And it did. What's the most important action that your dispatcher must take? I know you all said send troops, what I refer to as hit the button. It sounds so easy. And our dispatchers are usually multitask geniuses. They take calls, populate CAD, notify supervisors, play medical technicians and therapists, and send troops. But this call forces even the most experienced dispatchers to cognitive overload, to pause, to doubt, to ask a couple questions just to be sure. And that takes seconds. Let me preface this by saying this is not to criticize the dispatchers, because with no specific active shooter dispatch training, they did a phenomenal job. Their quick actions saved lives. So let's say we hit the button to send troops. We still have the caller on the line, and we get to ask them one question before the line goes dead, before they're dead. What's the most important question to ask? There's many, but none as critical as, where's the shooter? Where's the shooter? Where's the shooter? Because we're going to campuses, major businesses, movie theaters, outdoor events, and malls. Imagine if we showed up at one end of the mall versus the other. How many seconds will that cost us? And then, of course, dispatchers have to hit the button immediately to put that specific location out. Otherwise, asking the question means nothing. If you paused to think about your answer to this, then how can we expect our dispatchers to get it right in the middle of extreme chaos, under enormous stress? Train your dispatchers. to hit the button, ask, where's the shooter? And hit the button again. We're just scratching the surface. There's so much more room for shaving seconds in dispatch, in the way law enforcement gets to the scene, and in our approach once we're on the scene. Please, in your active shooter training, delve into every possible way to shorten your response. Because if your day comes, the only true measure of your efforts and of your success will be counted in the number of seconds it took you and the number of victims you saved.